When you smoke, your child smokes. When you quit, you lower the risk of your baby being born early or developing asthma, pneumonia, and more. For tips to help you quit for good, visit yesquit.org.
American libraries have more books than any other countries on Earth. But the US has 5th lowest literacy rate in the developed world. 2 out of 3 haven't read a book in over a year. You can travel all around the world when you step into the library. Expand your horizon, navigate your life. Unplug, unwind, read.
Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. On today's show, we're going to be speaking with Mr. Jim Adams, the superintendent of the Ashland Public Schools, on how the year started and some of the programs that they're looking at moving forward with. We also, of course, have our Selectmen Update and our ever-popular Around the Town tour. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with the Selectmen's Update. It's time for the Selectmen's Update. This is related to the meeting that happened on Wednesday, October 18th. There was a short executive session at 6:30 and we kicked off the open session at 7 p.m. We started with some scheduled appointments and hearings. Our first was a presentation to WACA-TV, a proclamation by the Board of Selectmen. It was presented to Barbara Chisholm and Todd Carter of WACA-TV for all that they do and in recognition of Community Media Day. We then had a legal update by Lisa Mead, our town council, giving us some updates about some land issues and some personnel issues and giving us updates on some open meeting law issues. If you'd like to full detail, you can watch a recording of the meeting. From there, we had a presentation by Beth Rosenblum. She's the chair of the CPC, which is the Community Preservation Committee, and she spoke to us about the article that'll be happening at town meeting regarding money for the Town Forest Committee. And if you'd like more detail on that, you can watch the special that I do with our with our town manager, Michael Herbert. We closed off our scheduled hearings with a presentation by the Metro West Economic Research Center. And it was a presentation talking about the various jobs and type of jobs that we have here in Ashland, the growth from about 2010 till now, and the types of jobs and how it is impacting our economy. From there, we approved our consent agenda, which approved the recycling dividends that we received through a grant, and we created surplus of a Department of Public Works golf cart. Another item that was on that consent agenda that we pulled was the approval of the Boston Marathon parade permit. We have some questions for BAA before we approve that. From there, we went into our old and new business, and we reviewed and approved the posting of the town meeting warrant for the special town meeting that is happening on Tuesday, November 14th at the Ashland High School. From there, we had a short discussion about a dedication of McGill Square. This is a corner lot over on Cherry Street and Summer Street. The home of the McGills stood in that location, and we're talking about putting a plaque or some kind of memorial in that location to recognize the service that they've done to our country and to our community. From there, we did a review of the BAA grants. A very special thank you to Stephen Mitchell and Rob Scher, who are our subcommittee. They reviewed all the grants. They then bring it to the full board and we vote to approve the funds. There was about 20 organizations that applied for funding. We funded just about all of them and almost for all their full amounts. So thank you to Rob and Steve, and also congratulations to those who received funding through the BAA grant process. Next, we went into a selectman appointment. We had one appointment, and that was for Richard Marr. He has been appointed to the Ashland Housing Authority. and his expiration date will be May 14th, 2018, where he'll then have to run for election to be appointed, to be reelected to that. The person who was elected to it had stepped down, and we're just filling the seat until the next election. We finished up the meeting with some town manager reports. The first was on the MWRA connection. There's two connections being talked about right now. This was the update on the full connection that is being used to be our backup water source. Unfortunately, we have also been notified that we need to do an emergency connection because our reservoirs are low, even though we had a very wet beginning of the summer. August really dried us out, and we are currently looking to make an emergency connection through Southborough for about 200,000 gallons of water every day. And the permanent connection is hoping to be completed by October of 2018. So if we have a similar situation next year, we hopefully won't have to go for that emergency connection because our permanent connection will be there. We were then given an update on the River Walk. The River Walk is a project that's being done along the river in back of the VFW and down by Ponderosa Road. We have gotten some funding from the state, and we are in the final decision phase of getting engineering work done for that. And this is a project that hopefully will be completed by the end of next summer, so keep an eye out for that. Then we went to a landfill update. This is regarding the House Street landfill. That is finally moving forward, and it should be completed by next spring. The berm will be going in sometime this fall, but and they'll do some of the plantings now, but some of the final plantings may have to happen in the spring when it's better to plant. The poles, the special permit for the poles to be able to bring the electricity from the solar panels to the grid are finally moving forward as well, thanks to approval by the planning board. So that is moving forward. And then the last update was community programs update. We talked at our last meeting about a new hire in the Human Services Department, and we had an update from Jen Ball, our assistant town manager, about some of those programs that are happening there at the community center and through our Human Services Department. And that was the meeting. So thanks for watching this quick update of our selectmen meeting for October 18th.
When you smoke, your child smokes. When you quit, you lower the risk of your baby being born early or developing asthma, pneumonia, and more. For tips to help you quit for good, visit yesquit.org.
Welcome back to Around the Clock. We are here with Jim Adams, the superintendent of the Ashland Public Schools. Jim, welcome to Around the Clock.
Thank you for having me.
A couple of new initiatives going on this year. The first is the school start time change.
Yeah. So how'd
that go?
It's going well. I think with any major change, I think we tend to find little speed bumps along the way, and no different than this year with this initiative. You know, it's moving our start times. We moved our middle school and our high school start times to 8:15 and 8:20 respectively from 7:30 and 7:40. So it's a significant change, almost 50 minutes. The research that's from the American Pediatric Association says that we really should be after 8:30, closer to 9.
Oh, wow.
But it's logistically, it would become a really nightmare that probably would never end. So we had to take into factor, you know, some considerations, family considerations, athletic considerations, the younger kids. Do you flip-flop times or not flip-flop times? And this community was pretty adamant about not having the elementary kids start at 7:20. Or getting dropped off. Like the high school kids were dropped off at 7 a.m.
Right, yeah.
Very early.
I can remember that.
Yeah, so we didn't want that to occur. So our Mendez times and our Warren times stayed relatively close, within 10 to 15 minutes of what they were.
Okay.
But as we've seen throughout this year, I think there'll have to be some tweaks and modifications, which we anticipated. But it's nothing we can do internally throughout in the actual school year.
Right.
Because part of it's negotiated with our union and our teachers.
Right,
and
right. Contracts,
yeah,
and bus contracts.
Exactly.
And,
So,
right.
yeah. So,
Okay.
but I think it's going well. I think anecdotally, talking to kids, they've certainly have expressed early on it was challenging, but now they're. Julia Sicard, who is our student rep on the school committee, commented recently. She said it's been awesome. It's been great. Her friends, they're all seniors, said has really helped us manage our mornings better. And families have said we have zombies, or we used to have zombies, sleeping zombies. At least they're awake zombies now, and we can have conversations at the breakfast table.
Yeah.
So again, I think with any major change, it just takes a little bit of time. And in 3 to 5 years, we'll be looking back saying, we did the right thing, one, for the health and well-being of our kids, and that's exactly how the school committee thought about it. Was this is a public health issue. This isn't about student achievement. This isn't about trying to 100% reduce the stress in kids' lives. Well, guess what? We have to have other. There are other mitigating factors that cause stress, right?
Yeah.
And some stress is good. We know that. But whether it's the amount of homework we're giving, whether it's students who are involved in way too many outside activities, parental pressures. I'm one. Listen, you're one. How much should we put the pressure on our own kids?
Right.
So this is just one component, and I think in the schools we'll be looking at all the other components. We'll be doing an analysis of our our athletic events, and we actually starting tomorrow, Wednesday, or on. What's tomorrow? Tuesday. Yeah. The 24th and 25th of October, we're actually doing a major study of our athletic department.
Oh, wow.
We've contracted with the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Association, who comes into school districts. They've done this in Connecticut, and they analyze and evaluate the entire athletic program from top to bottom.
Oh, wow.
Sort of like a NEASC review, and that's exactly what it is. They'll provide a report. They've done. We're the first school in Massachusetts to actually undergo this process. So I'm really excited.
Because that leads to my next question. I know that one of the issues when changing the school start time, specifically at the high school, was how it was going to affect your sporting events and your teams and what they were doing after school.
Yeah.
What was the impact? Was it as big as we thought, and how was it handled?
Yeah, so I don't think it was as great as people were trying to make it out to be, because we already have, the Tri-Valley League, we already had 2 schools in the league to start after 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So people were forgetting the fact that Medway and Millis both start after 8 and end. So Medway ends within 4 minutes of where we're ending our time.
Now,
Their actual school day is longer than ours. They start at 8:07, but their day ends just about similar to ours.
Okay.
So when I was having those conversations, I asked our athletic director and asked the ADs of the Tri-Valley to step back for a moment and think about really when were our buses leaving our yard? When were they leaving the schoolyard?
Right.
And if they're leaving close to 3 and our kids were getting done at 2, or if they're leaving at 2:45, our kids are getting out about that time. So it's requiring kids to be more efficient, to have their stuff together. So it was a 15 to 20 minute difference in the end.
Oh, wow.
That's it in the afternoons.
Yeah.
All of our home games are identical times as they were, because the other schools are coming to us.
Right.
We weren't starting until 3:30, 3:45. And our kids are out at 2:45. So it's just a different thought process. We still have some issues with certain sports, so golf, because it gets dark so early.
Right.
And we don't have the ability to tell Hopkinton Country Club, for instance, that we're going to start when we get there. Well, no, they have members.
They have times, right.
And they say,
when we get there, we'll be good.
Right. So they say, no, this is when you're going to. Okay. So I think in the fall, we've probably experienced, one of the concerns was, okay, are we going to take kids out of academic classes?
Right.
I bet we've probably done it less than 5 times in the entire fall, and we'll do it less than 5 times in the entire fall season.
Right.
Growing up in Vermont, we actually went to school until after 3 o'clock, and we still played our games.
Right.
And we still, the thing about a rotating basis schedule at the high school is you're not going to miss the same class every single
day.
time.
Right.
So if you've got to be 15 minutes dismissed, and it's a small group of kids, golf, 10 kids.
Right.
So I think it's just a mentality. You're really taking, well, we're not, if you think about how much time do we invest in having pep rallies.
Right, that's the thing. We do pull
Right,
kids out of classes
Yeah.
for other activities. So
Right. So
Good.
it's just what's, how it impacts your own personal life too. I think,
Right,
I think
right.
that's been the biggest change, I think, for our staff, because it certainly impacts their
right,
their
commuting
their
times,
commuting times,
in and
their,
out.
their
Yeah.
family life. I mean, I
Right.
get it. And so those are things that we're just monitoring and we'll continue to tweak.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else has been new this year?
We have a couple new schedules at the elementary levels. I think a year of really evaluating the Mendez and the Warren schedules to ensure that, because our population is changing so quickly and the need for our special education students and
Right.
English language learner students to make sure they're getting their services being provided to them on a regular basis and a legal basis, right? So
Right.
we're trying to make sure that, so we tweak the schedules, and this is the first year of that. Actually creating more common planning time for teachers to sit together and talk about kids,
Right.
which is critical.
Yeah,
it's-
especially if they're sharing them. And at the
Yeah.
Mendez, you still have a number of programs where
That's
they
right.
share students. So.
That's right. And so we're working towards those types of things. I think, we feel really comfortable with where we are from an administrative team. I was having this conversation with some other superintendents. We held an administrative forum in Ashland High School this week, and I invited leaders, whether it's building leaders, principals, directors, superintendents from across the Commonwealth to come in.
Oh, nice.
And we did a leadership summit, and we talked a lot about, we're very fortunate here. We have a stable school committee.
Right.
And we have a stable leadership team, which we didn't have
For a long
For a
time.
long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with that comes expectations, and staff knows what to expect from us. So that's been exciting.
Good.
But it's not new, but it's finally taking hold in year 2 of having the
Right.
same group.
Good.
So,
Good.
Yeah.
And then the other big news being discussed in town is the potential
Yeah.
for free full-day kindergarten starting next year.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's been something we've been talking about since I became superintendent. So we did a study in 2015, and a report was given to the school committee in December of 2015, December 8th, I think it was. And the report was really clear. Listen, tuition-free kindergarten is the right thing to do for all kids. We know the closing of achievement gaps, which is one of our strategic priorities, that we're closing those gaps. We're seeing a wider gap with our demographic in terms of socioeconomic, more disadvantaged kids, more ELL students.
Right.
So those kids weren't required. So the state doesn't require us to have full-day kindergarten. But the kids who are getting that full day and paying $4,000 are certainly
Definitely advantage over.
Absolutely. So-
Definitely.
so-
having seen both
Right.
between my two children, there's definitely an advantage to
Yeah.
full-day kindergarten.
Yeah, so to me, it's an equity, right? It's an equity issue, and it's
Yep.
an issue that if we can solve as a community, and it's really a community decision,
Right.
that to me, that's the right thing to do for our kids. So we're in a position after studying it for 3 years, 4 years, to really consider next year moving away from having families pay $4,000 to go to kindergarten.
Right.
And the mechanism, it's interesting because some people would say, okay, let's continue to phase it out over time. Well, it actually costs us more to phase it out.
Right.
Because we don't get any Chapter 70 funding
For those
for
students.
those years
Right.
that we're phasing.
Okay.
And we wouldn't get any Chapter 70 funding in year 1 either way. It's the second year you start getting
Right.
the funding. So with the potential of new funds coming to us at Fall Town Meeting, a one-time cash infusion, what that will allow us to do is offset some of the current costs.
Okay.
And then take, theoretically take some of the revolving account money that we are using for full-day kindergarten and roll that into
To next year's.
next year.
Okay.
Because what happens is we get free cash given to us, we have to spend it in the same fiscal year.
Right, right.
Unfortunately, we can't. The only thing we could roll over potentially would be revolving account funds.
Right.
So we're looking at that as a part of a funding mechanism.
Okay.
And then we're also, because of the joint agreement we have with the town and the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen, is the revenue and expense lines from the Maytown meeting to the cherry sheet from the governor's
Right.
final budget
Right.
is another infusion of operating money. So that operating money will be 100% dedicated towards full-day kindergarten.
Okay.
So that also then reduces the amount we would have that we need moving forward. So I anticipate this year, after the infusion of the operating funds, we will have covered almost 80% of the cost of kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
Into our operating budget.
Great.
So yeah, so then that 20% remaining gets absorbed.
Right.
That's the theory behind it.
Right.
Over the course of 5 years.
Okay.
So by 2025, I would anticipate a deficit, meaning it would have to be absorbed into our operating
Okay.
budget. Unless we're strategic, which I think we are financially,
Right.
it's my background, is that over the next 6 years, we absorb slowly
The
costs.
for that
Yeah,
kindergarten.
so it's sustainable. Then by 2025, it's completely
Part of
in
the
the budget, and we're getting approximately $131,000 of extra Chapter 70 funds
To cover those costs.
costs.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's there. It's you know, Barbara Duran and I have spent, you know, many months of just looking at the numbers. We had a conversation with our school committee at the summer retreat, and I said, listen, I know it's one of your goals to get this done.
Right.
We can do it.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind we can do it.
Okay.
And again, with the support of the town and
Right.
the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, I think now is the perfect time.
Good.
Yeah, so.
Well, I think full-day kindergarten for every student is certainly agreeable and
absolutely.
the right thing to do. And if we can afford it as a community, I think people just need to look at the numbers and make sure and support it if they feel that it's the right thing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And again, it's to me, again, it goes back to the equity issue.
Right.
Is we don't want to risk having our students falling behind.
Right.
Because of their plight, right? Because of
Right.
they can't afford it, because of you know, that's just not the right thing. It's not
Right.
morally right. It's not.
It'll also help with our bus costs because it'll be one less run in the middle
Without
of the day.
question, right? Absolutely. So I mean, I didn't even factor those things
Right,
in, and,
right.
I'm a very conservative, and I had that conversation, and we'll have that conversation with the school committee in the next 2 days at our meeting, and say, listen, I'm very conservative, meaning I'm not even accounting for any other potential increases
Right.
in revenue
Or savings.
or savings.
Yeah.
I'm going with, okay, this is
Straight
max of what it would cost us.
Right.
If we were to ask for an infusion of our operating budget, it'd be like $400,000.
Right.
And that's a lot. And,
It is.
And, you know, but in the end, it's 0.008%, the deficit in 2025 of our current budget.
Okay.
That's nothing.
And we
Less than
know that
1%.
between now and 2025, the town budget and the school budget, you know,
Exactly.
both budgets will grow.
Typically grow.
We'll have more revenue.
That's right.
We'll have more people.
Right.
So
Yeah, so I'm excited, and I think
good.
if we're, as I said to school committee, I don't even feel like we're compromising anything else that we potentially could be asking for.
That's good.
Within the current budget,
Right,
which
right.
I think is important.
Yeah.
Some would disagree that, you know, whatever money we're getting in the fall town meeting, the net difference, maybe that could go to other staff personnel, et cetera. And it could.
Yeah.
But what's the priority? If the priority is to get to tuition-free
Well,
kindergarten,
right.
this is the time to do it, because that money can
Right.
directly be attributed to those teachers. We've got
right.
10 teachers. It's
Yeah.
probably $1 million a year for kindergarten, with
Right.
teachers, aides, you know, supplies, things of that nature.
Right.
So it's exciting. Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah, so-
Well, we're going to wrap it up, but hopefully we'll be here next year talking
Yeah.
about some of these things that actually
Yeah,
happen. And
it would
we'll
be great,
see.
wouldn't it?
It would
So,
be nice
yeah,
to see.
yeah,
So
good. Well, thank you.
good. Jim, thanks for coming on Around the
My
Clock.
pleasure. Thanks.
Stay with us and we'll be back with more Around the Clock. Well, it's that time for our Around the Town tour here on Around the Clock. Let's get started at the Ashland Public Library. On Tuesday, the 10th of October, was the Plastic Bag Forum hosted by the Sustainability Committee. This was their opportunity to give information to the public on the plastic bag ban that they're proposing for an article at our November 14th town meeting. There were some plastic bags and some great discussion. From the Ashland Public Library, we're going to go out of town, out to Gillette Stadium. Our Ashland boys and girls soccer teams had the opportunity to play on the field at Gillette Stadium, and what an opportunity and experience it was for all that played. Unfortunately, our girls lost from 0-5 to Millis, but our boys won with 2-0 for Millis. So congratulations both on the opportunity and congratulations on the boys for winning their game. We're going to head to Ashland Town Hall. The new veterans parking spaces have been put in. You'll see them at Town Hall as well as in the public lot by the library and over by the community center. This is a program that was brought forward to the Board of Selectmen by 2 of our current police officers and their organizations, Rifles to Rods. It is to show respect and thanks for those veterans that have served our country. So you'll see those veterans signs, and they were donated by Signorama in Framingham. So thank you to them. Thank you to Officers Carpuzis and Puzo for bringing this project forward and for helping us implement it.
One of the most important things that we can do as a community is show respect and honor those who have served our country in the armed forces. And we can do that in very, very grand ways. We can do that through parades. We can do that through a number of very large things. And then there are some things that we can do that like this, that are maybe a little smaller in nature, but still show and honor and respect our veterans and members of the armed forces. And so I'm really proud today the fact that we're doing this, and I'm also proud of the fact as being town manager that we have such great staff here and members of our police department, Ryan and Dimitri being 2 of those members who think about veterans and think about how they can help the community at large, not just in their job, but in their everyday lives. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Officer Puzo, and thank you again, sir.
Thank you. Like the town manager said, thank you everybody that came out today. And huge thank you to one of our board members, Dimitri Carpuzis. He made all this happen. His idea, different mindset from a 30-year-old and a 50-year-old over there. But yeah, once again, like the town manager said, it's all about supporting the veterans. And that's what Rifles to Rods is about. We're more about getting vets out fishing on the water, but doing things like this and being community activists as well is something that we really strive to do. And with that said, we're going to unveil the veteran parking only signs that we're going to be pushing here in the town. And awesome for the town of Ashland of being, progressive with that and kind of getting that going. And hopefully we can push that mission across the Metro West.
Okay, I just want to thank Ryan, Dimitri, and all the folks that are involved in this. Massachusetts is a leader in helping our veterans. We can never do enough to help our vets. It's as simple as that. All that they sacrifice, all that they and their families give up to serve and protect for us. So Massachusetts, I'm proud to say, is first in the nation in veteran benefits, and I hope that as long as I'm there, we stay that way. We will stay that way, and we will keep doing what we can. This is something seemingly little, but it's a great show of support for our veterans in helping them out and showing that Ashland cares. And I just want to thank Rifles to Rods for all that they do. The mental health of our veterans is so important. I know that personally from some family experience, and I know for all the families that have veterans, it's important that we do what we can to help their integration, reintegration, and help them back to become healthy, productive members of our communities. And what better way than the rods and the fishing? So I just want to thank you so much. That
Absolutely.
Really makes a difference.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, there we go. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
From Town Hall, we're going to go just across the street to the Living Wall. If you're wondering what the Living Wall is, it is a new garden that has been installed by the fence that is right next to the railroad track. A huge shout out to Kathy Rooney for spearheading this project. Let's hear what she has to say about it.
Hi, I'm Kathy Rooney, and I am a garden designer by trade. And so this project, the Living Fence Wall, if you will, is something that came up as part of a community discussion 2 years ago. And people thought the fence was, let's say, less than beautiful.
little bland.
Yes, yeah, no, actually ugly, I believe is the term I heard. And that we thought we could do something better. So the fence is now about to be the framework, to support framework for vines, and also some perennials, so we have literally a flowering wall.
Well, that sounds really cool. So what was your whole idea for this? Just everyone said it was ugly and that's why? Or did you have like...
Well, it was sort of, people asked me, said, could we do this? And I said, yeah, actually, because I knew some of the plants right away. I knew the vines, like there's a Linistra sempervirens, which is a native honeysuckle that flowers in spring. And then we could put trumpet vine, which most people know is a garden thug, but out here where it's, you know, really on its own and very droughty and there's lots of rock in the soil, so that'll be more contained, but it will still be a strong growing plant. Mm-hmm. That'll have trumpet flowers all summer long. It'll attract hummingbirds, probably butterflies. I know that the Linistra, the honeysuckle, also attracts hummingbirds, so it's fabulous. And then for the late summer vine is the Clematis virginiana, or virgin's bower. That is nice white flowers. So we'll have literally different colored flowers all along here at different times of the year. And then...
Well, have you gotten a lot of volunteers so far?
We had a few this morning, some really good stalwart ones. We had a couple from environmental majors from Framingham State, Luke and Stephanie, who have been out here all day. And if they hadn't been here, we probably wouldn't have gotten done. Jack Lewis and his son Hosea showed up, Carl Hackinson showed up, and some other people showed up to cheer us on, which was awesome. Somebody else, a guy named Richard, who volunteers a lot in the library, brought coffee back for everybody from Sunnyside after he, had breakfast there. So it's been good. My husband Bill brought stuff down that I forgot this morning and brought me some lunch. So, everybody pitches in where they can.
Well, it looks like it's going to be great.
A big thank you to Kathy for that information, as well as for her hard work, as well as the other volunteers that were there, including Representative Jack Lewis, to help do some planting on the living wall. And the idea is to expand it further down the tracks. So if you ever have time and you want to help out, you can reach out to Kathy and you can help out with the living wall. From the living wall, we're going to go out of town again, not quite so far, this time just to Framingham. Senator Karen Spilka every fall has her Senior Health and Wellness Fair at Keefe Tech. The seniors from the communities that the senator represents can come and they get a free meal, as well as they get some health and wellness checks and find out about health issues. Our own Board of Health was there helping out and presenting information. Congratulations to all that volunteered, and we hope that all the seniors that went enjoyed it and found it informative.
On Saturday, October 14th, Senator Karen Spilka held her Health and Wellness Fair at Keefe Tech. There were workshops and flu shots given out, and over 200 seniors showed up. During the lunch hour, the Golden Tones played, and you could catch seniors being active by dancing.
From Keefe Tech, we head out to the VFW back here in Ashland for the VFW Brewfest. This happened on Saturday, October 14th. It was a great event. About 10 breweries were there, as well as a cornhole festival tournament was happening. There was probably 200 or 300 people. There was some great beer, some great activity. A huge congratulations to the VFW, the Ashland Sporting Association, and the Greater Ashland Lions for helping out and supporting this great endeavor.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and we're here at the Metro West Brewfest at the VFW. This is a fundraiser for the VFW so they can help rebuild their building. There's local breweries and local food trucks here to help the cause. Let's go check it out. And so what's going on here?
Well, we got a lot of people here this evening. This is what we're calling an Oktoberfest, Metro West Oktoberfest. It's a benefit for the VFW. We're trying to raise funds to rehabilitate the building, and it needs a lot of work. So we thought this would be a fun idea for the local folks. Got a lot of local beer companies here. We've got about six local breweries, local wine retail store, a sake company out of Waltham, a couple of local food trucks, and the Marconi's folks are actually our host, and they're selling food here also. So it's for the community, it's for the VFW, it's so I can break a sweat.
Hi, I'm Kim Walbridge from Marconi's Company. We're happy to be here for the Beer Fest to raise money for the renovations at the VFW. We do catering and all sorts of things, so there's a lot coming up that's going to be fun, including the theater company coming here, so hopefully you can look forward to some fun new things to see in the future. Thank you. When she was just small, and you just had some kind of mushroom, and your mind is moving low. Skies, I think she'll know.
So what do you think about all of this?
Oh, I think this is wonderful. I had an event tonight at Framingham State, their big annual gala, and I got all dressed up, but as I was leaving the house, I said, I need to make time to make sure I stop by and see this fundraiser, see all these thriving breweries that are in town and around town, and do what I can to continue to support this local enterprise.
Yeah, I'm Maureen Fabry, and I'm the brewer and owner of Craft Roots Brewing Brewery and Taproom in Milford, Mass.
So what do you guys have to try tonight?
We have a nice spectrum of colors. We have a blonde ale, we have an IPA, we have an autumn seasonal, it's a pumpkin beer that's spiced, and we have a really nice chocolatey porter.
So what do you think everyone should try?
I would say they should try all 4 of our beers, but I really think this is the season, being an Oktoberfest event, try the autumn ale. It's really nice. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Good talking with you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ted Twinney with Start Line Brewing Company.
So where are you guys located?
We're in Hopkinton, right nearby the festival here.
Nice. So what do you have on tap tonight?
Yeah, we brought 2 beers tonight. We brought our Irish Red Ale named Crack, which means fun. And it's a really nice beer. It's a mild beer, but it's very flavorful but low on alcohol. We also have our Hopload Citra IPA, which is the Citra hop. It's just a beautiful IPA.
So what do you think everyone should try?
I love IPAs, so I hope everybody will try both. But I think the Hopload Citra IPA is the beer to try. Yeah.
Well, you got a little bit of a bias because you like IPAs.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
Hi, I'm Dan Krupp. I'm the owner and founder of Dovetail Sake out of Waltham, Mass.
So what do you have? What is here for people to try tonight?
So tonight we have 3 sake. The first one is our flagship Junmai Ginjo. The next one we have is our unfiltered Nigori. And the third one, which I'm particularly proud of, is our fall seasonal. This is the only sake of its kind in the world made with 100% maple water instead of actual regular water for brewing.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so basically we stand there opening a couple hundred of these stupid Tetra Paks at a time and squeezing them out in the tank, and we think it's worth it when it's all said and done.
Well, it sounds really exciting to try. So what is actually sake, for people that don't know?
Sake is a fermented rice beverage. Most people think it's closer to wine. It's actually closer to beer because it's grain, it's not fruit. It is the only beverage in the entire world that uses multiple parallel fermentation, which is a very overly technical term for saying starches turn to sugar, sugar turns to alcohol in the same container at the same time.
Well, it sounds very exciting. I will have to try it.
Please do.
Thank you to Steve Greenberg for taking for a few minutes and speaking with our crew out at the Brew Fest. I believe they also then put their cameras away afterwards and had an opportunity to enjoy some of the great beers that were being offered. I have to admit, I was there as well. And I'm sure as you watch the footage, you'll notice many of your neighbors that were able to attend. Well, that wraps up this segment of Around the Town. Again, remember, if you ever have an event that you'd like us to share or come be a part of, just reach out to us here at WACA-TV, either at the studio or through our Facebook page, Around the Clock.
Doc, where'd the DeLorean go?
Never mind.
Well, look what I found.
Great Scott, this is a 3/4 inch U-matic.
Well, Enchantment Under the Sea in 1955?
No, Ashland Day highlights 1988.
How can we watch it?
Oh, we gotta go back, Marty. We gotta go back to the future. 1988. But where can we watch it?
What about at WACA-TV?
Oh,
what about
let's do it.
Every Thursday from 5 to 9?
On Throwback Thursdays?
Exactly.
Oh, let's do it, Marty. Great Scott, let's do it!
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Around the Clock. Make sure you take a few minutes and check out our special episode with Town Manager Mike Herbert regarding the special town meeting that's coming up on November 14th. A huge thank you to Mr. Jim Adams, our superintendent here in Ashland, for taking the time to visit us and update us on all the important initiatives that the superintendent and the school committee is looking at. Well, that wraps it up for this episode, and thanks for watching Around the Clock.